This is WBAI, listener-sponsored radio in New York City, 99.5 FM, Pacifica Radio, where the name goes on before the quality goes in. And, no? You don't like that little play on words? I have to read some promos because it's not time for the big show of the week yet. So I have to read some promos. On Saturday night, September 27th, WBAI will hold a benefit party in its new building, the church that the Marathon bought. That's, I don't like that sentence much. The doors open at 8 p.m., and you're invited to come and sit in our pews, look at our stained glass windows, fondle our wood paneling, and lick Robbie Barish's face, dance to live rock music provided by 4 bands, the Children of God, the Bob Moses Trio, Life, and Edge of Sound, under lights provided by the Great Beacon Light Show, who will be in our choir loft. Brother Marsh will deliver a sermon from our pulpit. I think that'll be sweet. Beer and soft drinks will be available, wine and wafers, if you'd like to take communion with us. Admission is $2 for women, $3 for men, with all the proceeds going to help pull WBAI out of its current financial hole. Well put. Bob Fass and Steve Post will MC. Oh, my favorites. Bob Fass and Steve Post. I've always wanted to see what that Steve Post fellow looks like. That's Saturday night, September 27th. That's a week from today. Is that incorrect? Is that accurate? From 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. in WBAI's church, located at 359 East 62nd Street between 1st and 2nd Avenues. Not to hell with the rest of it. It's midnight. Okay, folks, time to tune your radios in to the outside with your Uncle Stevie.
Ya prendan la luz, ya pedimos luz, ya queremos verte. Mucho, muy feliz, siempre tan feliz con tu buena suerte.
Bueno, y seguimos con la mala suerte. Aquí, Radio Intercontinental, por gentileza de Calzados Lagur y Calzados La Magdalena, hemos llamado al teléfono de la señorita Rosa Castro Fernández para felicitarla en el día de su cumpleaños, pero no coge nadie el aparato telefónico. Vamos a felicitar a esta señora o señorita de parte de su hermana Mari desde Francia, mandando muchos recuerdos para sus padres y hermanos que se encuentran aquí en Madrid. Ponemos para ellos a los machucambos.
También,
nos han pedido.
Esto es también, Aurelia, para la señorita Soledad Fernández, que la felicitan sus padres con todo cariño, sus hermanos.
Dice que estamos de dulce. Tú y yo hacemos muy buena pareja. Total, que me llegas que a la cintura. ¿Qué importa eso?
Bueno, María, excuso decirte que ¿para qué te voy a preguntar si estás contenta si te chorrea la alegría, ¿no?
Pues sí, muy contenta. Y verás, era una experiencia nueva. Un espectáculo de esta categoría en un circo no se había hecho nunca en España. Se habían hecho espectáculos de circo, espectáculos de variedades, pero un espectáculo estilo París, Londres, Alemania y Hollywood. Esto no se había hecho y les prometo que no quedarán defraudados, porque muchas veces el público sale y dice, ¡ay, es muy bueno! Y lo ponderan tanto que la gente dice, cuando vayamos allí tendremos una desilusión. Pues aquí no, aquí es al contrario, dice, ¡ay, nos habían hablado muy bien! Pero la realidad es superior.
Y además, para colmo, damos ducha, o sea que en el último número tenemos puentes...
¿Le molestan sus tobillos hinchados? Hemocircol, tónico de la circulación venosa, le devuelve su bienestar. Hemocircol tiene buen sabor. Tome Hemocircol. Viaje con educación y descanso, del 4 al 24 de junio. Maravillosa excursión a Italia visitando Marsella, Niza, Génova, Pisa, Roma, Florencia, Venecia, Milán, etc.
Con tiempo, pues me lo... Pues ya viste. Bueno, ya viste cómo ha habido suertecilla, ¿eh?
Muchas gracias.
Adiós, señora.
Adiós.
Muy feliz día, que cumplan ustedes las bodas de platino.
Muchas gracias.
Y aquí pueden escuchar
Que
una
lo
sardana.
vea, ¿eh?
Muchas gracias, señora.
Adiós.
Adiós, señora. Buenos días, adiós.
Bueno, esta sardana también va para una persona incógnita, que no pone nombre, que dice a mis sobrinos, Paquito y Maricar.
Good morning. All rise. Good morning, Uncle Stevie. This is The Outside, and I'm Steve Post, known far and wide as Uncle Stevie. And this is the program that has made me what I am today. Which is not really much of a recommendation, is it? It can do the same thing for you if you just if you just let it filter in. We have a special guest tonight, as promised last week. This is not like Bob Fass's program, where people just kind of wander in off the street, and start playing the Jew's harp and interpreting Bob Dylan songs or something. And then Bob gives them a quarter, and they go out and do whatever they do, usually wash off his windshield. And this is, we have class entertainment here. We book our guests in advance, and we even chauffeur them down to the studio. And our guest tonight is Theodore, known to some of you as Brother Theodore. Isn't that nice? We have an uncle and a brother tonight. And we have another brother, actually, my own brother, who's here tonight also. And occasionally people have said to me, people sometimes stop by on Saturday night, and then I come in, and I'm always very uptight when I come in, as everybody must know by now. And I kick everybody out. And occasionally people turn around to me very nastily as they're walking out and say, you kick your own brother out of the studio. And I did that tonight. I kicked my own brother out of the studio and sent him into the... I kicked him out of the control room and sent him into the studio, where he is now. You all know my brother. You will remember him as the fellow who talks back to his television set, which was one of the first indications. When that finally dawned on me, I had a kind of I guess you'd call it a transcendental experience one night, when I suddenly realized that insanity ran in my family. And a real indication of that was the fact that my brother actually speaks back to his television set. He engages in dialogue and conversation, and apparently gets a lot out of it. See, from what else will you know? My brother, this is also the brother who threatened to burn himself in front of the General Electric offices, thereby getting his air conditioner fixed within 24 hours. And this is only for those of you who are regular listeners. The rest of you are saying to you, what the hell is this guy talking about? Right? But those of you who are regular listeners, what else? What else is my brother, I guess, helped us hit one of our high points in our 5 years of broadcasting one night when he did his superb Arthur Godfrey impression. You all remember that. He did a duet with Arthur Godfrey on record singing the She's Too Fat polka. That was one of the biggies of all time here. Let's see, what else is my brother well known for around here? That's about it, Post. Except my brother's friends were much hipper than my friends. My friends used to call... I always wanted a nickname. Like Skippy. I wanted to be called Skippy or something like that. Or, I just thought of something funny. I haven't thought of it in a long time. My friends were very, very stupid, you see, and they would call me, like, I don't know, Post Toasties, which really never, I didn't inspire anything in me, and I really didn't like it. My brother's friends were very cool, and they nicknamed him Parcel, which I think is a mighty effort for guys who turned out later to be so incredibly dumb. And but when they were younger, they had something on the ball, and they named him Parcel, and that name has stuck to this day. He's known as Parcel Post, and I'm still known as, Fatso. So nothing is. But one time, I don't know if I can tell this on the air with our license renewal pending. When I first went away to boarding school, I went to boarding school once for a couple of years. School for wayward Jewish boys. This was a school for, the problem with most of the kids at this school was they were so damn good. They were this kind of school where all these good little Jewish kids went, and they try to instill some bad traits in them. And when I got there, the kids started, like, making fun of me, which, I was not unused to. In fact, I was quite accustomed to it and would have felt rather uncomfortable had they not made fun of me. And one of the things they called me was Putz, you see, because apparently it had something in common with the name Post. And I said, no, well, that's a cute name. I said, no, there's a really nice nickname. And I went around saying to everyone, yeah, that's my nickname, right? And they all giggled and thought it was terribly funny, and I just thought it was a, kind of a gaze into the future at my incredible wit. Every time I said the word, called myself Putz, these people would break out into utter hysterics. I thought, that I was just unbearably witty for somebody of 11 years old. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, and many thousands of putzes later, that I finally found out what the word meant. Robbie is sitting there very nervously shaking his hands and moving his head back and forth, indicating that our license will never be renewed. Do you think that was out of line, Robbie? He wouldn't touch that. Okay. All right, Robbie's not going to touch that. Okay, Robbie. It's all right. He's supposed to be my moral support. Anyway, as I said, Brother Theodore will be here. In fact, he is here, but he's walking around the block raping little girls in preparation for his appearance here tonight. And I don't suppose he's going to have much luck around 39th Street. I haven't. But, maybe he certainly has more animal magnetism than I have. I can say all these things because he's not listening. As soon as he comes up here, I will revert into my role of subservient little moderator. I will play Barry Fauber to him. No, not really Barry Fauber. Who's somebody who's really nothing? Lee Leonard. There's a guy who was really nothing. Remember Lee Leonard? Used to do a talk show on NBC. Guy was nothing. I will do my Lee Leonard imitation for you tonight. I'll sit back and grunt through my nose. And that'll be about it. Okay? You had enough? You ready to hear the music until Brother Theodore arrives on the scene? He really is walking around the block outside, and he really will show up. It's really not like Fastest Show. He will definitely show up, because I drove him down here, and I have him on a chain to the front door. He can only walk so far, just far enough over to a fire hydrant, in case that becomes necessary. And, anyway, Brother Theodore will be here. I wish I had a really snappy line to close out on. Here, put on the music. But I don't. Theodore figures that he wants to go on at about 1 a.m. because he thinks that's when people get home. That's why he's not on right now. That wasn't a snappy line. Why don't I just forget it and put it on the record? What always happens? This always happens. I always say to myself, well, I just want to go out with one snappy line. And what I do is just sort of prolong the agony. Here's a little arbitrary station break. This is WBAI New York City. This is The Outside, and I'm your lovable old Uncle Stevie, Louse. And Brother Theodore is with us tonight, as I mentioned earlier, but for those of you who just came home after a terribly disappointing date in which you either didn't get what you wanted or got more than you wanted, you have something to perk up your evening, for as you know, Theodore is a forever cheerful and positive force in our lives. And he is sitting in the studio now, flexing his evil muscles, spewing forth at my brother. And he can't hear me. He's now clenching his fists and shaking violently as though he were having a nerve spasm. But enough of this blow-by-blow description. Theodore will be before our microphones in just a few minutes. And just thought I'd let you know that so you don't tune out. That is, assuming you're tuned in. I sort of consider this the opening of the new season, the fall season of The Outside. I've been taking it easy this summer and playing some old programs, and like the television networks do, and like the new programs do at the beginning of each new season, they bring forth their best on the first show, hopefully to impress the reviewers. Now, nobody reviews this program at all, except like the Jewish Defense League newsletter or something. But nevertheless, I feel for my audience that we should bring forth our best talent on the opening of our new season. But since we couldn't find the best talent, I've invited my good friend Theodore, or Brother Theodore as you know him, be here. I shouldn't start off by insulting you because he'll slash me to pieces. Hello, Theodore, and welcome.
Good evening, Steve, and good evening, Jerry. Jerry, as you might know or might not know, is Steve's brother. I don't know what he's doing here, but he sits opposite me and grins at me, and I have to bear it.
That's his thing. How are you? How about that for a penetrating first question?
Well, fairly lousy, as usual.
Anything special wrong
No,
today?
just the usual problems, aggravated by a few new ones.
Have you come up to... actually, we might as well tell them that one of the reasons that I asked Theodore to come up this particular time was that you were to have opened very shortly.
Yeah, I really
program.
came here tonight to plug a show that was to open in a very nice little theater. Our handbills were all printed, the money for the handbills was all spent. We had a verbal contract with the landlord. We have known the landlord quite well for more than half a year. We have performed at the theater before, and foolishly we thought that a verbal agreement, a word of honor, is being kept. If I say we, I speak about my producers, 2 friends of mine, and myself. But always we are foolish. We had the theater, we did promotion for it, and now we learn that another group who can afford more money moved in, and we are out. So if you ask me, or when you ask me how I feel, I learned that only about 3 or 4 hours ago. And can you imagine my poor producers going through the agony of pre-opening labors, you know? And it's a terrible annoyance, and it shows to me again and again and again that when you are honest, you are just plain foolish nowadays. You cannot afford to be honest because they just think you're an idiot and treat you like an idiot, and it hurts me to be treated like an idiot.
Is there a prospect that you might open anyplace else?
Right now I can have no prospects for a very simple reason. As you know, I work mostly, well, exclusively really, in off-Broadway theaters. I'm not Broadway material. And the off-Broadway shows suffer from one great difficulty. There are, for 40 or 50 off-Broadway theaters, there are maybe 500 groups that compete for these few existing theaters, and the rents are fantastically high, and of course the theaters go to the highest bidders. You can hardly open now an off-Broadway show, mind you, an off-Broadway show for less than $30,000 to $40,000, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I cannot afford any of this.
I always feel so guilty for bringing you up here and not even giving you, as you said last time, the 20 cents or the 40 cent subway fare. That I feel like I should.
Yeah, but if you feel so terribly guilty, Steve, you could today give me the 40-cent subway fare. Why can you not?
Oh, I ask my brother.
I would like to say to the audience that he picked me up by car and I secretly hope he will bring me home by car tonight.
Yeah, but
the 40 cents, the hell with it.
You didn't tell them that I put down the flag on the meter, though, as we drove down.
Ah, ha ha. Go on.
My brother has the money in the family.
Ah.
Well, I was leading up to try to get you to plug anything. What are you doing that you can plug? I want you to plug something. The least I can offer.
Really have nothing to plug at all. I might be next week on the Merv Griffin show, which is nothing to plug. I mean, I've been on many times before, and most people who have seen me in my shows and know what I can do feel that I look rather foolish on television, not just on the Merv Griffin show. Merv Griffin is exceedingly kind and well disposed towards me, but the medium per se does not lend itself to my particular type of talent, if you want to call it that. It's just not the right medium for me, but of course I prefer to be on it. It's the only way to be seen, so what can you do? If you cannot have 100% perfection, you have 30% perfection. It might be better than nothing, although it gives a totally wrong image, And
are you not performing at the Fillmore next week?
Oh my God. You must have your spies everywhere.
All over.
Yeah, I wanted really to keep that a secret as far as possible. Not for the show there, but for myself. The show is probably an excellent one because these two producers, which incidentally are not the same people I talked before, they are comparative strangers to me. I've never worked with them. They asked me to come, I think Sunday the 28th, if I'm not mistaken, and perform at the Fillmore. And I reluctantly accepted, but I don't plug the show. At least I would like to plug their show, which I hope and am sure will be excellent, but I don't want to plug myself at the Fillmore.
Yeah, it's a strange place for you to work, isn't it? You've never...
Yeah, it is a very, very, very strange place for me to work because it is immense. It is huge. It is 3 city blocks long. And when you are in the back of this theater, you cannot see whether the person who is on stage is a man or a woman, whether he wears a beard or doesn't wear a beard. Now, don't get me wrong at all. The theater is absolutely perfect for the type of shows that they promote there. For instance, for rock and roll bands, it is fantastically good. And for all the other purposes, it is fantastically good. But I need, basically, intimacy in order to find the proper rapport with my audiences. My audiences should be so close that they can see the slightest nuance of facial expression, which of course is totally impossible at the Fillmore, and also for me, not for the others. I wish to emphasize that over and over again. For me, there is a great acoustical problem because, let us say, the master of ceremony who introduces people has his microphone 2 inches away from his mouth and speaks into the microphone and is therefore heard perfectly well. But I'm not an announcer. I'm not a master of ceremonies. I'm a raving maniac when I'm on stage, and as soon as I move away from the microphones, they won't hear me. In other words, my fear is that I won't be seen, nor will I be heard. And the people who have never seen me before will say, "This is Theodore. What a bore. He stinks." And they will not know that I stink because I cannot be heard nor seen. This is my worry.
You can't be seen here either,
producers, my producers are very flattering and well-meaning. They think I will do very well. I don't know why they think I do very well, because I explained and super-explained and over super-explained my difficulties, the technical difficulties that I'm anticipating. But they said, what the heck, it will work out somehow. I don't know why they think so, but as they are both very bright guys and quite well-meaning, and as I need the money, as a matter of fact, only because I need the money, I accept it. What can you do? Beggars can be no choosers.
I have to confess that after all the years that I've known you, and I've known you, obviously, we've spent time outside of being, on the radio together and stuff.
Yes.
I'm still scared of you.
You are obviously joking, because when you were a couple of weeks ago in my apartment with your 2 or 3 friends and your brother Jerry, you didn't give me the impression of being scared.
No, I mean on the air, right now, I'm scared of you.
Why?
Well, I mean, you look like you're going to attack or something. I don't know.
No, it is just that I'm not used to be on the air as you are, and so I'm less relaxed than you are, I'm basically a performer, and a performer, as you know, sticks to his scripts and does not have the gift of ad-libbing. So I feel a little bit out of place when I'm in front of a live mic and no mistake of mine can be eradicated, and any stupidity that I utter is right there for everyone to hear.
Well, I do that all the time. I mean, that's part of what I do.
Yeah, but when you do it all the time...
I feel intimidated.
By
my
don't
you see my hands shaking? I mean, I'm very, as my listeners know, I'm smooth and witty, and here I sit shaking like a leaf.
Well, apparently, without knowing it and without being aware of it, I have an overpowering, hypnotic, fascinating personality, which incidentally gets me nowhere. Because the women that are interested in me, when the chips are down, they say, "But I'm afraid of you." And in my profession, the people who are supposed to give me jobs say, "Yes, he's marvelous, but he's too frightening. The American audiences are not ready to accept him. They want to relax. When he's around, one cannot relax." So, the 2 most important things in my life, money and women, or women and money, I don't know which comes first. The money comes first, of course. These 2 things very often elude me, and I'm quite pissed off about it. Urinated off about it, I'm sorry. That's what I said when I
Yes, that was the original phrase. It just came out through the miracle of electronics. It came out slightly garbled.
One is not permitted to say what I said?
Well, not if you want to stay in business as a radio station.
On this station, this is
we're guided by the same rules as every other station.
I'll tell you why this frightens me stiff. Because before I came here, I said to myself, Steve Post is undoubtedly going to ask me to read something, on the radio, which I always dread, because as I told you over and over and over again, but there might be some listeners that listen to us for the first time, so I repeat it once more, the effect of my performing or lecturing or preaching or whatever you want to call it, the effect is to a very large degree visual, so I'm always frightened when you ask me on the radio to read something. And before I came here, I found a little Chinese ghost story which is quite amusing. I've never in my life read it aloud. As a matter of fact, I promise you, and I swear to you, that I read it about 2 hours ago in my home, just before you picked me up a car, and I said, maybe I can bring this because it's so amusing in my opinion. But there are words in it, many words in it, as the word that I just mentioned before, so I feel paralyzed, and I better won't read it.
No. Go right ahead. We're willing to take a chance for the sake of art.
Well, now this, I want to say to you and to the audience, this is not a performance. This is just the cold, first time loud reading of a story that I became acquainted with just 2 hours ago. And I'm in some way relieved that tonight, for a change, I'm not going to speak all the time of myself, but now I'm going to speak about a certain Mr. Pippi. In a town of far-off China, long, long ago, long before Mao Zedong came into power, of course, there lived a young man who was called Mr. Toon Quang Pippi. Now, Mr. Pippi was a gay blade. He would have breakfast at dinner time. He would eat grass and sip tea and sniff glue and inhale fumes and swallow birth control pills. He would drink while driving. He would pollute beaches. But above all, he was given to the frolics of the flesh. And of all the ladies he befriended, not one pleased him nearly so much as did Mimi, the concubine, for she was a trollop and a real strumpet. But, you know, folks, you must know very well how in matters of the heart, how rarely things go right and how very, very often they go wrong. One day, Mr. Pippi, in a fit of peevish temper, grabbed Miss Mimi by the hair, smacked her in the snout, punched her in the groin, kicked her in the shin, and the better to enjoy her howling, he also gave her a judo poke in the neck and a karate assault in the belly, and then he carved her up with a carving knife. After all, he said to himself, what do you really want with a girl if not higher things? And then he made his way to his mother's house, itching to throw there another fit. Now his mother, a widow, poor but respectable, a lady every inch, his mother had just sat down for a simple but wholesome dinner of sweet and sour fish. "O great Buddha," she said, having apparently never heard of our Lord Jesus Christ. "O great Buddha," she said, "for that which I am about to receive, thank you ever so much just the same. Amen." And she poised her chopsticks and dripped from her lips. Just then the door flung open wide, and like the very Dickens, her son burst in. She looked at him and addressed him as follows. And I'm not going to use her voice because I have not studied this dramatically. You know, Steve? She addressed him as follows. "Pippi, my son," she said, "you seem upset. Is not Mimi the fornicatress with you tonight? Mimi, your slutty?" "Hell no," said Mr. Pippi in a vulgar tone of voice. "But may she come here and tear you into 1,000 odds and ends, each more repulsive than the other, old bag you." Now this of course is a terrible thing to say to one's mother who has given one birth. And sure enough, her tears were flowing freely. "Oh, great Buddha," she cried, "forgive this son of a bitch for talking to me this way. Amen." Instantly, as if in answer to a mother's prayer, the door flung open wide again, and a ghostess walked in, covered all over with bruises and calluses and multiple carving knife wounds, but otherwise the spitting image of Mimi, the bumped-off concubine. and she advanced toward Mr. Pippy in a saucy, ghoulish step, and she stared at him with burning, bickering eyes, and from her nose onto her chin the worms crawled out, the worms crawled in. And with a smile that boded no good, she said to him, "Lover boy, let's hop into bed." And she pronounced the word bed in such a risque fashion that Mr. Pippy almost died of embarrassment. But thank Buddha, he was the kind of a type who knows how to keep cool in a crisis. He was a real cool cat, as you would say nowadays. "Sure, Mimi love," he said to her, "a stitch in time saves 9. Now the ghostess seemed to be pleased with this answer, and she began to make passes at him and to take certain liberties with him that are far better imagined than described. But when the day dawned and the cock crowed, she abruptly stopped her caresses and turned into a puddle of pus. Yes, sirree, right then and there, right in front of a member of the opposite sex. It was almost too much. But don't fool yourselves, folks. Mr. Pippy's condition was nothing to be sneezed at either. In fact, Mr. Pippy had changed so much that his own mother, who brought him his breakfast, and who also had given him birth, as you may remember, that his own mother had great difficulty in identifying him. His hair was tousled, and the dandruff fell. His tongue hung out of his very mouth, sort of namby-pambily, sort of wishy-washily, and I'm sorry to say, also quite lackadaisically. His legs had rotted off, and a front tooth was missing. His pyjama tops were in a state of disorder, and incidentally were his only articles of clothing. "It's the artist in me," he whispered. "The artist in you!" cried his mother, and her tears were flowing freely. "The artist in you! My foot!" The proper translation of the Chinese would be "my bare ass," but I changed it for the sake of the show. "My foot! You are a disgrace to the Coast Guard!" And she threw a can of beer out of the window, simply to prove that she meant it. Now, there is no real definite moral to the story in the Chinese, but I add the message that such was, and such should always be, the punishment for laxity and permissiveness and moral turpentine. It always ultimates in hell. Now, while I read it, as I said, for the first time in my entire life now, it grew on me, and I think I'll work on it and enclose it or include it in my program in the future. Anyway, this was, as so often on your station, a world premiere. I try out my things here.
And how do you know if they work?
Well, because tomorrow you will phone me and say that so many people phoned in and loved it. Just loved it. Just we're gaga about it. Just gaga. Gee, that Theodore, he's cute. He's a nut, but he's cute.
Well, the calls are coming in already.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, take a few.
Yeah, are the police at the door yet? This is WBAI, New York City, by the way, and our guest is Theodore, or Brother Theodore, as he's come to be known. Does the moral of that story would seem, the moral which you added, would seem to sum up your opinion about the new permissiveness of today's youth?
That's a generation gap.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I found out why this generation gap really and truly exists, especially in the sense of what I just mentioned, permissiveness, promiscuity. The older people who have become ugly and covered with varicose veins, you know, who cannot afford doing all these lovely things, are jealous. They are plain jealous, and therefore they stand there drooling from their lips and whatnot when these things happen. You know, where was it, in Woodstock? You know, and find fault with it. They find fault with it only because they cannot participate in it anymore. You know? And this is called the generation gap.
Maybe we should invite them to join us. Look at that. There are two statues of Buddha sitting on this table. I have no idea where they come from. That is Buddha, isn't it?
This cannot be a coincidence. This is very funny. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I know. It's very strange. I didn't know you were going to read that story. And I've never seen these statues of Buddha, which are suddenly sitting
but I
here.
think it makes bad radio to talk about it because our audiences cannot see it.
Well, why don't you can describe it?
Meaningless. They might even think that we are lying, that there is no statue of Buddha.
Well, I'll hold it up to the microphone right here.
There's a statue of Mother Mary or something like that.
They believe me. There's no credibility gap between my audience and myself.
Yeah, but they might say, and so what?
That's true.
What they might
That's
really
true.
say. You know?
That's
No,
true.
I'm not trying to find fault with you being the host here. You know, I just it's really very amazing that two Buddha statues should be there, especially as I mentioned Buddha so often now in this story. Well, maybe it's coincidence.
Maybe there's
it's
something
not
to do.
coincidence. There might be something more to it than meets the eyeball.
Yeah. Do you believe in ESP and extra whatever it is phenomena?
I would like to believe in ESP and in all the connected areas. Who wouldn't? We all would believe that there's infinitely more to life than what we can grasp with our five senses. We all want it so badly. Even the greatest skeptics, even the people that prove again that it cannot be, hope to have an opportunity one day of being convinced that it is there. But according to my experiences, I do not believe in ESP because we make a big deal out of it if in one of 10,000 cases something works out like this. The 9,999 other cases we don't even mention.
Yeah, that's true. I disagree with what you said, though. I don't believe that. I really don't want to believe in it. I mean,
why do you not want to believe?
Because
in
I have like enough trouble with I have enough trouble like shaving in the morning and accepting what I know with my five senses. I don't want to, especially have to come in contact with something that I can't control or really understand. I mean, I'd panic if it were ever proven that there were really something to it. I would just get out of control and fall apart on the floor.
I feel very strongly that most people, even the most scientifically inclined people, have a desperate yearning for the so-called supernatural. As we all know, we are intelligent enough to know that there is nothing that is supernatural, because if ghosts would really appear, and if there are angels and saints, this wouldn't be supernatural. It would be simply the natural thing of the workings of the universe that we have not yet discovered. But I would like to believe it, but I cannot. But the difference between you and me is that you say you don't want to. I would like to, but I cannot. End of monologue.
End of monologue.
Yes.
Well, I thought I'd lead us into something a little interesting and offbeat there, folks.
Yeah, you have something...
I have nothing to say. Would you like to...
Well, the burden is perpetually on me. I thought that you are going...
Seems to me that the burden is perpetually on me.
No, here's the thing, when you talked about the generation gap and what's going on, I feel very strongly that something most uncanny is going on within the last 10, 20 years. A definite change has come over the world. A change like a dark cloud. Black thoughts are born, and dark deeds ripen in the midst of the vapors of this cloud. The eye of God no longer shines on us. Where once it shone, there is nothing now but an empty, burned-out socket. No Father in the heavens, no pie in the sky, nothing but pollution and a reek of cooked goose. I live alone. Maybe because of the generation gap. I never speak to anyone and no one ever speaks to me. My telephone rings rarely, and when it rings, it's always the wrong number. I rarely receive mail, and when I do, it's always the telephone bill. Before I go to sleep, I always look under my bed, hoping against hope to find Betsy Palmer hiding there. But all I find is my half-filled chamber pot. Oh, I'm telling you, if I cannot believe in God, I say, Lucifer, Lord of the losers, take me, seize me, snatch me, drag me away from it all. Kicking the bucket is the best way to go. I'm telling you, Steve, and I'm telling you, Jerry, and I'm telling you, people in Radioland, the madness of the living is a fearful thing, but it is less than chicken feed compared with the madness of the dead. The hour of my birth was the hour of my doom. Ladies and gentlemen, you will find in the forests of Bavaria castles older and larger than the grey mansion of my family, but not one, I'm quite sure, that is more tainted with melancholy, and we who have lived there have been called eccentrics and dreamers. My earliest memories are tied closely to that gloomy old house. My mother died there. There a tragedy never fully explained took the life of my father. There I spent my boyhood in books and my youth in reverie, and the years went, and as a grown man I stayed on in the home of my forebears. The realities of the world outside seemed to me like visions, and the world of dreams, little by little, became my everyday existence. I wanted to tell you about Lieselotte Bindel. She and I were cousins, and we grew up together in that house, but we grew differently. I was ill of health, always wrapped in gloom, while she, swift, nimble, graceful, tiptoed through the tulips. Hers were the peasant dances in the village, the ramble in the wind on the hillside, the galloping on horseback through the woods. Mine was the withdrawal, the anguish, the searching into dark things. She roamed through life, plucking its flowers, laughing, singing, cackling like a hen. Lieselotte Bindel, hauntress of my dreams, your image is vivid before me, your wind-blown hair, your witching eyes, your fragrant lips, your lovely young form. There is nothing like a dame, folks, take my word for it. Oh, days and places lost beyond recall. Oh, fairyland forlorn. Athlete's foot! Yes! A sudden fit of athlete's foot befell her, took hold of her feet, her body, her mind, and her habits, and in a manner most subtle, most hideous, corrupted the very essence of her being. Will you believe me, in the brightest days of her beauty, I had never desired her as I desired her now. A sickly, frenzied passion for that itchy chick began to obsess me, an incomprehensible craving. And in an evil moment, I brought up the question of necking, a woman runs a terrible risk with a man like me. Buchweizengrütze, she said, and I still didn't know where I stood. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I could only stare at her. She was a totally changed woman. Her hair was a dent yellow and fell over her temples like sauerkraut. Her face was sweaty like a chunk of rancid pork and covered all over with pipple popples and slushy pips. And as I stared and stared and stared, her lips, her poor, thin, shrunken lips parted, and in a smile of maiden modesty, her teeth revealed themselves to me. Would I had never seen them, or having seen them, died. The moving of a curtain, the closing of a door, Lieselotte Bindel had left the room, but my mind still clung to the image of her teeth. Not one speck on their surface, not one shadow on their enamel had escaped me. They had burned themselves into my memory. They had bitten themselves into my brain. They were small, narrow, and pointed, cold and capricious. They glistened like rusty nails in the moon. Those teeth, those glittering teeth, those luring, quivering, beckoning, promising pearls of teeth. They were my destiny. They are my destiny. They alone can bring me peace. Know what I mean, folks? Lieselotte Bindel, no good hussy and sheep floozy. The hell with her! You can have her with bells on. I want her teeth. I want her teeth. That's what I want. Her teeth. Her teeth. I want them now. Now. Is there a dentist in the house? Huh? Steve, is there a dentist in the house?
We'll see if we can get one.
If there is no dentist in the house, I go home. I rip them out myself. Her teeth. You see, I'm sorry, folks, that I got so worked up, but I have come here to protect the station. I have come here to protect you all. I have come to crush the powers of evil, and I have the formula in my possession. I have the formula that will do it. I have been toiling over this formula. I have been slaving over this formula all night until the wee hours of the morning, because I love you folks, because I'm very fond of your guts. It's a macrobiotic, microbiological, simple but dignified formula. It will expand your mind. It will shrink hemorrhoids and asteroids. I refer to mupizimipozzi hydrochloride Schmitz, which is the generic term, the generic name for oil of dog, the laxative that constipates. 5 capsules taken with water 73 times a day, or 73 capsules taken with water 5 times a day, whichever more convenient, will do the trick. It will fulfill your fondest expectations, and that's a conservative guess. Steve? Jerry? Have I ever lied to you?
Never.
Why, of course I have. Of course I have. I'm a poet, I'm a dreamer, I'm a compulsive romanticist, and the truth of the matter is, and I say it and I confess it, I have never laid eyes upon my Lieselotte Bindel. I have never set foot in that gloomy old castle. Shit, no. I had bigger fish to fry. I'm a very busy man. I get up with the birds, and lie down with the pigs. And don't you ever forget it. Incidentally, as usual, I get carried away and I talk too much. Will you please?
No, not at all. Not too much at all. Just too extreme there for a second. What Theodore really didn't. Whatever you heard, friends, and I don't know what you heard. You misheard it there a minute ago. Excuse me. I get a little worked up myself sometimes.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
I fully understand.
Yes. Since Liz a lot of Bindle, though, what else has been happening socially? Really, forgive me for asking right on the airwaves here.
What do you mean? I'm supposed to.
Well, my audience knows of your fondness for long-haired, nubile young females. Yes.
I want you to stress that very much.
Females. And I thought, I'd just question you. People are talking outside, and wish they'd be quiet. Thank you. We just take care of that
Probably
on the air.
The police department.
Probably, or the people from the FCC.
Because I mentioned excrements.
Yes. Excrement would have been fine. It's just that other word for it that somehow the FCC can't accept that yet.
Increments and excrements.
Right. That'll
increments, apparently, when you are constipated.
You're evading my question.
What was your question?
I would just wanted to know about your social life. That's all.
My social life?
Yeah.
Well, theoretically speaking, it could be a very interesting, vivid, and pleasant social life. However, I'm my worst enemy. I've, in certain ways, only in certain ways, an incredible inferiority complex. Whenever I have no jobs, and therefore no money, I retreat totally. Some very worthwhile, lovely, intelligent girls phone me and in some way encourage me to meet me, even at my very humble little apartment. But I say no, because rightly or wrongly I have developed the idea that in the world, and especially in America, to have no money for a man is like being a lion without teeth. Like a lion without teeth. And I don't want to be a lion without teeth, and when I have no teeth, I mean no money, I retreat into my shell, and the girls that phone me and ask directly or indirectly for a date, I tell them I go for 2 weeks to Boston, or I make a trip to Europe, or I roll in the gutter, or something like that. Anyway, outwardly I reject them, but my heart is bleeding. Does this answer your question about my social life?
Only too well.
Well, did I go too far?
No.
Why don't you say then too well?
No.
Why don't you simply say it answered it very well? Why do you say too well? Will you please explain that to me?
You really got me on the spot there.
Now, because there's a criticism in it. There is an adverse criticism in the word too well, and I just cannot stand this. I come here and I'm being perpetually crucified on this program and persecuted. I cannot stand it any longer. Why do you do that to me?
I wouldn't do a thing like that to you. We're, very close old friends. Are we not?
Old friends whom you martyr.
Well,
in public. In public, you humiliate me perpetually.
I'm going to want my brother to help me. I don't know what to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, you might know Steve Post. You have maybe never seen his brother. His brother is 3 or 4 years older, right?
Six.
6 years older than Steve Post, which would make you 31, right? Mm-hmm. He has a raven black beard. He has deep, dark, fanatic black eyes. He looks like Bluebeard, about whom I told you long ago. The original Bluebeard. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, this is not the introduction to the Bluebeard story now. I'm not gliding into another of my bits.
No, that's all right.
No. I just wanted to tell you that Steve has a very, very good-looking, very intelligent brother who works in the film industry, but he hasn't seen fit yet to make me a star in his films.
Next week.
Next week, he said. He has no microphone, so I translated to you. He said next week.
Which was quite witty on his part, I thought.
Was very witty
Yes.
on his part. Very witty on
Yeah,
his
this
part.
is this is the outside, and if you just tuned in, my palms are sweating, and my name is Steve Post, and my guest is Theodore. I always hate to call you Brother Theodore, which is the way you're best known, because I know that...
Well, of course my friends do call me Brother Theodore, as I explained and over-explained here again and again. This started as a joke when I once preached that we should all walk on all fours. I had on my handbills, on my programs written, Brother Theodore, you know, and this stuck with me. And now I have to do, because if I say Theodore, they say Theodore who? Theodore Bickel, you know. So you know, this joke has become reality now.
It's still amazing how, to me, how many people
take me seriously.
Take you seriously. Yeah, I never get over it. Never really cease to be amazed by that.
In other words,
even the people who listen to this program who are supposedly intelligent, if somehow cut off from reality. But you know, people always get a few calls after you're on and say, "Who was that nut that you just put on?" You know? But you're not. You're off stage. Theodore is just—he's like your own brother. Just
like Tom, Dick, and even Harry.
Tom, Dick, and even Harry.
Yes.
No. It's.
Well, Jerry, one cannot hear you.
Yes, they can. They can hear him. They can hear him.
Oh, yes, really?
Yeah, sure.
Does the microphone pick it up as far as that?
Yeah. It sounds bad, but that's all
why
right.
Why do you think not true? What is?
Got myself into. Well,
I told the folks once before about the time we came by your house one evening.
Yes.
And my brother was kind of afraid. He'd never met you, you see. And I had been telling him all the time, I said, Theodore's such a nice guy. You can't believe what a sweet man he is off the air. Quiet, calm, just you know, even-tempered, and like, as you said before, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And so he finally calmed down. And we went up to your place, and we were sitting around talking. And all of a sudden you heard some noises. Somebody was playing the record player downstairs, that's what it was. And you very calmly got up, walked to the kitchen, took out an 800-pound frying pan, and flung it to the floor right in the center of the room with all of your might.
Yeah. And I don't know whether I am super sensitive or whether other people are totally non-sensitive. I just cannot stand unnecessary noises. So if someone below me or above me turns on the hi-fi set, I get totally rattled. I cannot think. I'm ready to murder. This is very true. I am, as you say, a perfectly self-controlled, yes I am, polite person. But there are certain little things, and I would say legitimate things, that drive me out of my mind. I mean legitimate things to drive a person out of the mind. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. You see, it is not a fictitious thing. For instance, when I go to Central Park, which I do very often, and people pass by with these transistor radios that are blaring, is it the word right? Blaring?
Fine. Yeah.
Blaring all over the place. I am really ready to go there and kick out all of their teeth. Because just imagine if 8 million New Yorkers did the same thing at the same time. It is, when I go to Central Park, I want to relax and have a little bit, the little nature that Central Park has to offer. I want to have that. I want to listen to the twittering birds or something like that. I do not wish to have the football results blaring all over the place. It is an incredible imposition on my freedom to have to listen to this. And yet when I go to a guy and say, will you please turn that down? He said, this is a free country, go to hell. You know, and this is in these moments that I say, no, I don't go to hell, you go to hell. And then trouble starts. It is true that I, at my very ripe and mature age, start for stupidities like that, street fights. But I have heard and read in scientific magazines that sound has incredible potential dangers and can even kill, and it is even considered in warfare You know, a tremendous ear-splitting sound that could drive a whole army insane, not for 5 minutes, but for good. Mm-hmm. It might even kill. So this settles...
I'll have to tell my people to stop opening and closing doors while we're on the air. Shall we take a little musical break?
Oh, I would love to.
Would you like to take a little... anything special you'd like to hear?
Maybe Tarara Bumdier.
Do we have Tarara Bumdier queued up? No, what's your second choice?
Tarara Bumdier. Incidentally, I do lots of singing this way.
Do you? Would you care to sing something for us?
Ja, das ist mein Lebenszweck. Muffe, Puffe, Meck, 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 Meck. Now, as I said, I do lots of singing this way, but not for money. I probably wouldn't last a month at the Met. I sing for kicks. Just let loose and warble, like a real warble bird. Ja, das ist mein Lebenszweck. Muffe, Puffe, Meck, 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 Meck. And thus I could go on indefinitely. Well, I guess I will. Meck, 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 Meck. And because of such little things, people think I'm crazy.
Probably the people out there probably being very entertained by it. As a matter of fact, there are probably numerous people out there who are terribly upset because they were just beginning to, as they say, get into the music when you stopped.
Yes. Yeah, it's like an interruptus.
Yeah, yeah. So if you'd like, you can go on indefinitely, or if you like, we can put on a record. We don't have Tara Bumdier. Is there anything else along those lines that?
No, as long as apparently you don't want me to sing, I really don't care what kind of...
No, I actually prefer you to sing, but at the prices we pay, I sort of feel that it would be imposition.
No, I'm not as dumb as all that. I can feel that you are really rejecting me.
No, that's not... No, Theodore, really, no, Theodore.
I'm not as dumb.
I wouldn't do a thing like that.
I'm a very sensitive person.
I realize that.
I wasn't born yesterday.
And that's why we're all asking you to continue singing for us.
Okay, put on a record.
You're not going to sing for us? I hope we haven't hurt your feelings.
No. Even I'm only human.
I've seen so many times on TV these television moderators hurting.
Put on the record.
Put on the record, Robbie.